on this Lord's Day from Psalms number 34. Psalms number 34, verses 1 through 6. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. O magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and delivered me from all my fear. They looked unto him, and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of his trouble. I want to talk with you for a moment. If you only knew. If you only knew. Several days ago, this past week, one of the members visited the office, and I made the statement, "You look so well." And the member replied back and said, if you only knew. In other words, I don't feel as well as you stated. But even on that note, my reply was, it's still good to be here. And then that stuck with me, just the phrase, if you only knew. And I said, what could I put with that phrase? Because we may look well, but physically we could not be doing well. So I thought about David. And I found, and I used this 34th Psalm that David has penned, and this is one of the most famous psalms that David wrote, and one that most of us like to quote from time to time. He said, I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. In other words, whatever I'm dealing with, I'm still going to bless the Lord. Whatever I'm suffering with, and whatever I'm dealing in my spirit with, I feel like preaching in here, I'm still going to bless the Lord, because he never had left me alone. So, brother and sister, the first thing that you must understand is that this is personal, because David says, I'm going to bless the Lord. Isn't that good to know? So other folks can't bless the Lord for you like you can bless the Lord yourself, because only you know what God is doing in your life. So David then said, you need to bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall be in your mouth continually. He didn't say that, even though that is the truth. But he says he made it personal. Why? Because in order for you to be able to say like David said, you must have your own experience with God. And only you can give your testimony. How God done great things in your life. Only you can do that. Now, some folks may know what I've been through, and some folks may know what I'm suffering from, but only you can really testify that God done great things in your life. I want to say that. And David said, since God knows what I've been through, and since God knows what I'm going through, David said, I will bless the Lord at all times. And only you know what God done brought you from. And only you know where God is taking you. So when you read this 34th Psalm, it is personal. And we must understand the reason why David wrote the 34th division of Psalm. David, anointed king of Israel, was sent to see about his brothers who were in the Israelites' army. And when he got there, he heard all of this boostering going on about the Philistine champion Goliath threatened the Israelite army. Don't let nobody fool you. I don't care how big a person may be. They are not big enough to handle God. Are y'all in here? See, down deep on the inside, David knew that this giant was no match. Are y'all in here? For God. And so don't y'all give the devil too much credit. Just because he may cause you to have a setback. But when you got a personal relationship with God, see, God can take that devil and let him understand that he can't mess with his child. Are y'all in here? So he said, now listen how David put this thing. So he said, I will kill the giant for Israel, because the army was so afraid of this giant. But David, a young boy, a young lad, can I describe him? So he said, I killed the giant. Saul, the king of Israel, looked at David. You'll find this in 1 Samuel. And said, surely you are no match for this giant. He had been fighting ever since he was a boy. And he is the champion of the Philistine army. And you just a boy yourself. David looked at him with confidence, talking to the king. And if you want folks to believe in you, you got to look them in the eye and believe what you say. David, preacher, look at Saul. I'd like to believe he said, Saul, if you only knew. David went and fought the giant Goliath. Goliath was laughing Calvin and said, what am I that you sent out easy looking boy. What? Why send this little weasel? Look at me. Over 7 feet tall. Calvin, he's sending a weasel like John. Think he gonna fight against me? Are y'all in here? I feel like something. I feel something here. And you know, looks can be deceiving. Everybody look weak ain't weak. And everybody look healthy ain't healthy. So he says, wait a minute. Goliath loud. And then he says, today your flesh will feed to the beasts of the field. David picked up 5 smooth stones. You know the story. The number 5 represent God's grace. In other words, David picked up grace. And he picked up the grace of God. Plus Goliath had 4 more brothers, which David ended up killing also. David killed Goliath, cut his head off, brought it back, and laid it at the foot of Saul. And while he was bringing his head of the giant Goliath to Saul, the women made it worse. The women began to sing praises unto David. They said Saul had killed his thousands and David his 10,000.